Hello and welcome to my Sprint 6 showcase video for my 2D puzzle platformer Orb Garden. In this sprint, I made significant headway into implementing levels within the game. So much so that I actually released a video earlier on in this sprint showcasing some of the early levels of the game. This video will serve as a showcase to the later levels within the game. Okay, and so to access this next level I have implemented, we will need to pick up a launcher from their nest and launch across to the hedge door that will take us to the level. So if we use this launcher to get across this short gap, we'll be able to access the next portion of levels. Okay, so these levels introduce the player to both the fuser and the hollow orb. So using this fuser orb, we've got to fuse this yellow and red key in order to make an orange key to progress, like so. Then using the orange key on this line will allow us through this gate, and we'll have to take this red key through this hedge door with us. Okay, and we've made it to the next level. So in this level, the player must first use one of these small hollows to pull themselves towards the large hollow above in order to make this jump. It might take a couple test runs. This is to sort of teach them how the physics of this orb operates. Okay, they'll now realise they need to get a red orb up here, so they're going to probably shoot back down, grab the red orb that they had to bring with them, and they'll throw it up, like so. Using the small hollow, we'll then make it up here themselves, unlock this gate, allowing the platformer to fall through. This platformer will be needed to reach a couple of orbs, both the yellow key and the large hollow, which you'll need to complete the puzzle. By placing it up there, they'll then be able to boost themselves onto this platform, and then they should just be able to jump to this area here. I'm just going to toss the yellow orb down. We'll then shoot up further to grab the large hollow, which they will need to access the fuser to merge the yellow and red key. As you can see, to the left here there is a player blockade, and then there is a fuser and a small hollow. Using the large hollow, we'll pull the small hollow towards us, knocking the fuser orb down with it. If we actually just move this other small hollow out of the way. There we go. We now have access to this fuser. With access to this fuser, we can then merge the two keys. Get our orange key. And using the orange key on this gate will allow us access to the purple orb, and the purple key is what is needed to progress to the next set of levels. And so we'll take this back to the guard, jumping over this bridge and through the gate, registering it to the analysis machine first to grab ourselves a token. And now, by heading down to the bottom of the hub, they can use this purple key and access the next level. Although upon entry, they will find that to progress they need a yellow key. This is to kind of test their ability to recall the previous levels they've completed and register where they can collect themselves the yellow orb, as it's not already registered to the garden. And of course, the easiest place to grab a yellow orb is in one of the levels they were just playing in, the level where they first find the fuser. And so I'm going to grab myself a launch here to make it back across that gap. Launch down there, we don't need it. And there's actually a couple orbs they can register from this little area. First, I'll register the fuser back to the garden. And then I'll go and grab the yellow key that they need to complete this next puzzle. Whilst this puzzle doesn't take place in a level, this is a kind of puzzle in its own, as I like to do a mix-up in the kind of ways in which I test the player. Okay, so with the yellow key registered and in hand, we'll move to this level and showcase how this one's completed. Okay, so first they'll unlock that gate and then drop down to this area. As you can see, this level is a series of coloured gates that the player will need to unlock in order to reach the other side. So the first gate is green, but as you may see, there are no green orbs. And so using this defuser, we'll we'll have to defuse the purple orb, and then use the fuser to refuse the yellow and blue orb into a green key, and this will allow them to obviously unlock this first gate. They'll then have to repeat this process for many more gates, using different colour combinations along the way. So now, if we fuse our red and yellow key, we'll have an orange key, which can be used to unlock this orange lock. But now, of course, we need a purple. The purple was actually the one we had originally, but obviously we have since dissected that into other parts. And so we're going to have to recombine that using the blue and red key. And this last lock is a rainbow key, which is a combination of all three colours. Like so. And then for the final lock, they'll need to get back to a red key. In order to do so, they'll have to defuse the rainbow orb back into its three components. So firstly, into the yellow and purple, and then the purple into the red and blue. Okay, and that brings us to the next step of the puzzle. So here, the player is tasked with getting up this rather large gap, but they have no platformers or launchers to do so. They only have this hole. Now the hole doesn't do anything on its own. He's just a happy little boy. But if we defuse him and break him into his two parts, we'll be able to get the hollows which are required to progress here. There you go. So you can see we've defused him into the two hollows. And by using the large hollow, we can pull the small hollow into us, which can provide us some knockback. So I'll showcase what that kind of I mean by that. So when we use the large hollow, you can see it pulls the small hollow towards us. We simply pull it back towards this end of the level. That's where we'll need it. In fact, let's just grab it and take it with us. It's the pull is far too unpredictable when trying to use it to bring the orb with you. Okay, so if we nest this orb in the kind of corner here, we jump atop it, and then we jump and use the large hollow, you can see that that knockback it provided allows us to get up to this next section. And now we're up to this next section, we can use the large hollow to pull this other small hollow and bring the fuser into range. And with this fuser in hand, we'll be able to get back to the garden and bring any of these orbs with us. We will bring the blue key. Actually, let's bring the diffuser. We already have a purple key registered to the garden, and so by bringing the diffuser with us to register, we'll be able to get the blue key anyway. So it's a more efficient use of our time. Okay, let's register the diffuser before we do anything else. And then let's move up to the top of the garden to defuse that purple orb to get ourselves a blue key, which we need to progress. So the purple orb rests up here. We'll use this fan to boost us up to that level. And we'll defuse the purple. Now we have a blue key, which we can bring down to the bottom of the garden to access the final kind of stage of the game. We'll try and find an analysis machine on our way so we can register this blue orb. Let's use the one down here and register it to the garden. We've now registered a total of 9 different orbs to the garden. Okay, so with this blue key, we can unlock this blue lock and move through to the final stage. So moving into this final stage, you can see that the game is shifted to a grayscale, and there's several statues of the various orbs throughout the game resting here. And as they move forward, they'll find that, oh, they can't get any further. There's a blockade in the way here, and they need to analyze 10 more orbs to progress, which seems like a lot, considering they've already found all of the puzzles in the game. And this is the point in the game at which I want the player to recontextualize some of the puzzles they've already beat and figure how they can bring some of the other orbs back. So the simplest one to do is the puzzle in which we just solved. Once they've completed the level once, they will not need to bring a yellow key with them, as all of them portions will be unlocked. However, they'll still need to bring a yellow key if they want to access the hole that's on the far right of the stage. And so I'm still going to go grab a yellow key to bring with us. course, we could also get the 2 hollows from the stage in which we found the purple key, but we'd have to bring them in 2 trips, where if we head this way, the hole is neatly packaged together. In fact, actually, I believe it's designed in a way in which they could bring the hole from the other stage if they're smart about it. So let's do that. It'll be a bit more fun than going through the coloured gates again. Let's launch across, cast our launcher down, head back through to this puzzle. And I won't explain how we solve this puzzle, it's fairly simple. I'll wait until we get to the next bit of the puzzle to explain that. Oh, I forgot to bring the red key up here with me. Maybe I should have been explaining it to myself a bit better. Actually, we don't really need to solve the full puzzle here, as we're not after getting the purple key. We're after getting the hollows. Place that a little bit at an odd angle here. That makes it a bit difficult to reach. Let's move that platform at the same time. There we go. About there should do it. There we go. Okay. I'm not going to bother getting this yellow key, as we don't need it to progress. Oh! Fell right down there. Let's aim to do that this time round. Okay, so now we have a large hollow. We'll need to get back up to the top to get the fuser still. Although we might have actually screwed ourselves here. No, we don't actually have the platform, of course. If the player ever does get completely stuck, there are tools in the game to prevent action being halted. If at any time the player presses R on the keyboard, the level will reset to its kind of default state, so that they can attempt it again if they happen to get stuck. Okay, so if we pull the fuser down here, oh, there's a small hole still here anyway. Let's get that out of there first. Okay, now we have the fuser. We can simply fuse the 2 hollows here to get ourselves a hole, which can be registered to the garden. And obviously, if we defuse this, we'll be able to get the hollows back, which means essentially by doing this puzzle a second time round, but solving it slightly differently, we'll be able to register 3 new orbs to the garden. There's the hole registered. And if we drop down to the defuser, we'll be able to register the 2 hollows. Okay, now we have access to both hollows. I'll first go and register the small hollow. And then I'll go and register the large hollow. And that'll leave us with only 7 orbs left to collect in order to progress. There we go. Okay, so now it becomes a little bit more complicated. There are not too many more orbs. In fact, I believe there are actually 0 kind of orbs that the player can go and collect from the puzzles. And so the difficulty now becomes trying to unlock these orbs through different fusions throughout the garden. So the most basic fusion the player is tasked with figuring out is by combining 2 platformers, they can create a kind of stronger platformer, which provides another register to our garden. And if they have to fuse this again with another sandstone platformer, they'll get an obsidian platformer, which will be yet another orb to register to the garden. And the easiest way to do that is then to just cycle the garden, spawning the 2 platformers back for them to merge together. Again, this is a kind of another way of providing a different sort of difficulty task to the player, a different type of puzzle for them to solve. Okay, I just realised we didn't need to do that cycle, because obviously because we've registered it, it's spawned 2 sandstone platformers here. Nevertheless, we can merge 2 of these sandstone platformers to get an obsidian platformer, which is another orb registered to the garden. Okay, we will take the fuser with us here to get some of the combination keys, the rest at the top of the garden, unlocked. So right now, I believe we only have purple registered to the garden. So let's head over here and register green, which is obviously blue and yellow. Registered. And while we're here, we may as well register our rainbow orb by merging these 2 orbs together. There we go. The rainbow key is now been registered. And in fact, there is actually one more orb we can get by merging this rainbow orb yet further, which is a waste orb, an orb created when a combination is invalid. It currently doesn't have a sprite, but that won't stop us registering it to the garden. Let's merge it with something silly here, like a launcher. There we go, we create this waste orb. Which is one more added to the analysis machine. There we go. We'll now run the fuser back up to the top to create an orange orb out of our red and yellow orbs, which I believe will leave us with just 1 orb left to register to the garden, which is the sideways launcher. I showcased how the player can unlock that in the previous video, but I'll re-showcase it here for context. Okay, so let's merge our red and yellow orb together. We got ourselves an orange orb to register to the garden. And now let's go get ourselves that sideways launcher to complete our menagerie. In fact, let's take an upwards launcher with us. I'll make the process a bit quicker. So this is another situation in which I want them to recontextualize a puzzle they've already beat. Typically, they will complete this puzzle and bring the upwards launcher with them, but there is a way in which they can bring the sideways launcher instead. We'll simply climb to the top here, being careful not to hit by the falling launchers as we go. Oh, that almost knocked us off course there. Okay, so typically to complete this puzzle, the player would now jump to the left here, launch over that mound and get back to the door, bringing the upwards launcher with them to register. But we're not after the upwards launcher, we're after the sideways launcher, which is a little bit more of an involved process. So if we loop up to the very top here with our upwards launcher, we'll be able to find the point at which the sideways launchers spawn, and we can grab one as they fall. Now if we simply launch across, we can bring the sideways launcher back to the garden. Like so. And with that, we have now, I believe, registered all 19 orbs. The dust to double check, we'll head to the statue room. And obviously, if that gate is no longer there, we'll be able to progress to the end of the game. We'll leave the sideways launch here. Don't want to take him too far away from his home. As you can see, with all 19 orbs collected, the gate is no longer here, allowing us to progress to the end screen. And here we are presented with credits, some sunlight, and a trophy for the world's best garden. Just for fun, they can pick up the trophy and use it to spray confetti wherever they please. That is all the showcase for this sprint. All future sprints will be about adding polish to the game. Thanks for watching.